Chapter 7. Trade and Industry Promoting Innovation. Definition of innovation. Process by which an idea or invention is translated into a good or service for which people will pay. To be called an innovation, an idea must be replicable at an economical cost and must satisfy a specific need. Business Dictionary. Com ideas that never were. In the past 10 years, I have twice come across good ideas which never became a reality. Primarily, the stumbling block was the fear that others would steal the idea and the originators would remain penniless. Here below the two stories, cell phone advertising. In 1998, I was distracted by the continuously updating message on my cellular phone that read, De Beers 1. This was the name of the cellular network mast closest to my present position. Then it struck me, what if the mast was called Drink Coca-Cola? And then further, what if I could send advertisements to multiple cellular subscribers? I discussed the idea with some close friends, and we decided to start a company that would register a patent and capitalize on the ideas of advertising over mobile cellular networks. Easier said than done. After 2 years of work, we were granted a patent by the Ministry of Trade and Industry in February 2008. By the way, almost all the work was done by ourselves, as we could not even find a patent lawyer in Namibia. We were elated and made an appointment with the only cellular operator in Namibia at the time. Great was our disappointment when they rejected the use of our idea out of hand. Living with AIDS in 1992, a friend of mine, QT, confided in me that he had contracted HIV. At the time, I knew little about AIDS and had only once known someone that had died of the disease, and he had been homosexual. Like most people of the time, I considered this to be a disease confined to another section of the population. Here now was a friend who had chased girls with me on various occasions, and we knew each other from childhood. We silently agreed never to discuss his looming death, and continued to see each other on occasion. In 1997, I was pleasantly surprised when QT visited my home with some rather startling information. His CD4 plus T count had stabilized. In other words, he was not so susceptible to opportunistic infections such as TB, etc., and could expect to live a fairly normal life. He told me he had been to see Johnny, a herbalist originally from Italy, but now residing in Rehoboth. He had received a mixture of herbs, and he had been taking them regularly for the past 2 years. This powder mixture was the only medication he had been taking, and I could see he looked much healthier since the last time I saw him. He arranged for the herbalist to visit me the following weekend. It turns out the herbalist was actually an Italian called Giovanni, or Uncle Johnny, and he had been mixing herbs and plants for the past 20 years. I received some of the magic potion, but he would not tell me what it contained. I proposed we draw up a confidentiality agreement, but he would trust no one with his secret. Shortly thereafter, he passed away without me knowing his secret recipe. As for QT, we still see each other regularly, and he recently had a baby daughter, not infected with the disease. Innovation incubators. I propose we create innovations laboratories with confidentiality agreements built into the system. An entrepreneur can sign up with the service and receive a confidentiality agreement. The entrepreneur can then submit a written copy of the idea together with the agreement to an independent organization such as the Namibia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, NCCI, or even a bank for safekeeping. In this way, if an employee of the laboratories attempts to use the idea, the entrepreneur will have a legal tool to prove it is their original idea. These innovation labs must be able to assist the innovator with protecting their idea through patents or copyrights, and the eventual implementation of their idea through negotiation with existing companies that can make this into a good or service for which people pay. Small and medium-sized enterprises. It is a fact that many countries of the world have become economically stable due to the growth of the SME sector. This is commonly referred to as the Mittelstand in Germany. In Namibia, the government also supports the SME sector through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, as well as through various financing schemes. He is studying the SME sector. Since 1991, I have been interested in small business and what this specifically means. The term small and medium enterprise, SME, was often used in our economic discussions within the NCCI, and it referred mostly to black upcoming business at the time. The definition adapted was less than 5 employees and turnover not exceeding $250,000. The development of an economic database model of Namibia led to a private business census being done in 1998. The results were all electronically stored, and the business model, nambiz.com, was born. A website was created with over 10,000 businesses and their contact details, including street address and contact person. The information was all provided free of charge. Over the next few years, various institutions have used the data to do their own surveys and published results. Another census was undertaken in 2003, and it was decided to work together with the Namibia Economic and Policy Research Unit, NEPRU, to provide an SME impact assessment for the Joint Consultative Committee, JCC. Nambiz.com was responsible for the sampling of the survey. The full study can be found at www.nipru.org.na. SME Assessment Study Recommendations. The following recommendations were made in the study and are still valid today. A. New definition for SMEs needed. B. Namibia-wide business census. C. Review of regulator environment. And D. Incentives for Go Formal. New definition for SMEs. The SME sector in Namibia, as presently defined by the government, includes mostly informal businesses. It would be useful to redefine this definition to be comparable to what is referred to as SME in other economies. This will increase the number of businesses that can be assisted by programs supporting SMEs. Currently, only an official definition for small businesses exists. The definitions we propose here combine regulatory requirements and employment criteria. The aim is to define sizes of businesses in a way that is independent from inflation and is comparable to international standards. The definitions proposed distinguish between primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors. The table of definitions is included in the KISS essays at the end of the book. The employment criteria for the primary and secondary sector are identical, only the regulatory requirements are different. Whereas for the tertiary sector, the employment criteria also differ. The advantage of having official definitions for all business sizes is that these can then be used for all kinds of surveys, allowing data to be raised that is comparable. This will lead to a better understanding of developments in the different sectors. It will also help to target promotion and support programs more accurately. Namibia-wide business census. All estimates derived in this or any other report on the SME sector are inaccurate at best, since the scientific basis for more accurate estimations is missing. This scientific basis would be a full business census. Equally to the population census, a business census will allow the government to design better policies and target more accurately issues of relevance to national, regional, and local development. Small businesses are met by quite a number of regulatory requirements. They have to register with local authorities, the Social Security Commission, the Ministry of Finance, once the turnover has reached a certain threshold, and other ministries for specific business licenses, taxi, mining, fishing, liquor licenses, etc. However, these requirements are not consistently enforced throughout Namibia. Clear guidelines for all Namibian businesses and operational support to implement them on regional and local level would be of benefit for small businesses. This would need to include more of a service approach to registration. Informal businesses should be given incentives to grow and to become formal and should not be forced to do so. Measures that can be recommended would be guidelines, including all regulatory requirements, support programs to help small informal businesses to meet regulatory requirements, training regional and local government staff to support small businesses from a regulatory perspective. An important issue that needs to be kept in mind is that regulatory requirements translate into costs not only for the small business and the reinforcing institutions, government and or municipalities, but also for the economy in general, with all its implications on poverty and growth. Our enumerators noticed that in two towns, namely Gobabis and Ongwediva, the municipal officials were excessively stringent in preventing SMEs such as hawkers and meat sellers. This seems to be caused on account of pressure by ratepayers on the municipal officials. Forcing kapana vendors, meat sellers, to sell from business premises with toilets will have a negative impact on the prices they have to charge and make the food hence less affordable for the poor. Increasing health standards raises the cost for products, not just the cost for the reinforcing institution. The degree of consumer protection through health standards needs to increase in accordance with the regional and local economic development. In general, a practical and even-handed approach should be adopted to reinforcing regulatory requirements, keeping local and regional poverty and unemployment levels in mind. The cost of registering with local authorities should be outweighed by benefits the small business owner receives for registering, for example. Nambiz.com surveys. The company has been working with business owners since 1999. The last full census was undertaken at the end of 2003, and the details were used to print 10,000 copies of the Nambiz 2004 business directory. The businesses were also requested to provide us with further information to assist in developing the services we wish to provide. The findings of this exercise are listed below. Business skills. More than half the entrepreneurs had a basic education between grade 10 to 12. The following areas also had a higher than average level of education. 1. Information and communication technology, computer sales and repairs, cellular telephones, etc. 1. Hospitality and tourism, and i.e. body care. Even though most entrepreneurs profess to have knowledge on accounting and basic bookkeeping, many did not make use of a double-entry bookkeeping system. In fact, most entrepreneurs stated assistance with bookkeeping and filing was probably their biggest need. Business needs. Less than 5% of the businesses felt that the SME assistance programs were providing the assistance they need. The following areas of support were indicated as most necessary by the businesses surveyed. 1. Finance 65%, 2. Marketing 60%, 3. General management 40%, 4. Purchasing 35%, 5. Sites and premises 35%, 6. Technology transfer 25%. It is clear from the answers that most entrepreneurs still see the level of investment or ability to procure financing as their major stumbling block. It was interesting to note from the answers to the type of bank account an SMEs has that more than 50% make use of a private savings account and almost 20% make use of their own private check account to run the business. Less than 1/3 of all businesses had access to a separate business check account. The businesses were also asked how they felt about their current business performance, and almost half of the entrepreneurs felt their business was performing fair. More than 1/3 felt their business was doing good, around 10% felt their business was doing bad, and less than 5% felt it was very good or very bad. What was interesting for the enumerators was that when asked how they expect their business to perform over the next 6 months, 1/3 felt their business was fair, and more than 60% felt it would be good to very good. This was also similar to the response on whether they would A. employ more staff, and B. increase their invest expenditure over the next 6 months. It became clear that most entrepreneurs were positive about the future and their ability to grow their business. The most significant need identified by SMEs was assistance with bookkeeping. A proposal is presently being prepared for a business package supplied to SMEs that will include registration for local authority, Social Security Commission, value-added tax and taxation, VAT and PAYE booklets, receipt and invoice books, returned once a month and entered into a computer for monthly, quarterly and annual statements. This is part of a proposal for small business assistance centers. Existing programs and their effectiveness Most entrepreneurs were aware of some of the measures being established by the government, such as the Small Business Credit Guarantee Scheme, National Youth Credit Scheme, or SME Bank. Nevertheless, most entrepreneurs indicated that they received very little assistance from any organizations. It was especially difficult for most owners to participate in meetings or attend seminars and workshops. The vocational training schools and COSDEC community-owned, managed and administered skills development center are often cited as good training institutions by entrepreneurs, but they are not able to provide sufficient assistance once a business is established. Practically all persons surveyed felt that the programs from government were not reaching their intended target market. Conclusion: the SME sector in Namibia, as presently defined by the government, includes mostly informal businesses. These will probably not grow beyond their present size and will also not contribute significantly to become the engine of growth as so often quoted. Therefore, it is necessary to redefine this definition to be comparable to what is referred to as SME in other economies. Thus, we will increase the number of business that can be assisted by the programs being proposed by government. Lastly, the biggest problem experienced by the enumerators was the lack of trust that the business community exhibits when questioned on their activities. This might be from fear of the authorities, but is more likely the natural response by an entrepreneur when questioned on their activities. Entrepreneurship myths. Many people consider an entrepreneur to be either crazy or lucky, or perhaps a little bit of both. Many times, however, a business person becomes one through necessity. The following myths have been reported all over the world on what most people think about entrepreneurs. 1. The risk-taking myth. Most successful entrepreneurs take wild, uncalculated risks in starting their companies. Trust me, most entrepreneurs choose the one most likely to succeed after due consideration of all the others. 2. The high-tech invention myth. Most successful entrepreneurs start their companies with a breakthrough invention, usually technological in nature. Of all the entrepreneurs I have visited in Namibia, only one started a business built on a new idea. Most started a business by noticing a market and then customizing their offering to meet the demand. 3. The expert myth. Most successful entrepreneurs have strong track records and years of experience in their industries. Many of the business people have ended up in areas of business that had very little, if anything, to do with their profession, and often even less to do with their field of study after school. 4. The strategic vision myth. Most successful entrepreneurs have a well-considered business plan and have researched and developed their ideas before taking action. I wish this was true. Unfortunately, most entrepreneurs in the beginning fly by the seat of their pants. 5. The venture capital myth. Most successful entrepreneurs start their companies with millions in venture capital to develop their idea, buy supplies, and hire employees. The most often quoted problem for SMEs must be their lack of access to capital. Of all the entrepreneurs interviewed during the past 20 years, all agree. However, almost none of them started their business with outside capital. They raised small amounts of money among friends and relatives to start their business. Most entrepreneurs do, however, have vision, lots of stamina, and a spirit of not giving up. Interestingly, many entrepreneurs end up being successful at something other than the area they started in. Entrepreneurial development in Namibia. The difficulty in entrepreneurial development strategies is often found in the dilemma of whether an entrepreneur is born or made. For most development agencies and political leaders, the answer, we hope, is that we can train anybody to be an entrepreneur. The other argument is that some people are born with entrepreneurial traits and behaviors. However, they must develop these traits and also learn skills such as management skills. Either way, all people can be assisted by developing certain skills to assist them in business. An example of a program such as this was done in Namibia in the early 2000s under the Enterprise Namibia Foundation. Enterprise Namibia Foundation, Empretique, is an integrated capacity building program of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, in the area of SMEs and entrepreneurial skills promotion. It is dedicated to helping promising entrepreneurs put their ideas into action and fledgling businesses to grow. Empretech's core product, the Entrepreneurship Training Workshop, ETW, is based on a unique Harvard-originated methodology focused on a behavioral approach to entrepreneurship. The ENP did not continue to function after the donor funding period ended. The successes of the program often included a network of entrepreneurs who met each other during the training and were able to continue doing business with each other afterwards. This support program did not materialize in Namibia and was one of the main contributing factors leading to its demise. Namibia should look at the Empretech model and redesign it for the junior secondary school level. It can then be run as a 2-week summer camp where only a few students per school attend the same training course with other pupils from across the country. This way, a network of pupils across the diverse areas of Namibia will be created. This is very similar to the Veld School held in the past. What are the entrepreneurial skills? An entrepreneur should possess the following skills: management skills, communication skills, ability to work as part of a team and on their own, be able to plan, lead, organize and control, be able to read financial statements, be able to do research, for example, market research, customer surveys, disciplined, especially with money, self-motivated, able to multitask, ability to network and make contacts, adaptable, be competitive, willing to take calculated risks, perseverance. In fact, these skills are the same all managers should have that work within larger companies, regardless of the field of study, for example, mathematics, science, economics, etc. Taken at secondary school, a young person still needs to add these skills to their arsenal. To this end, we need a 1-year vocational diploma, similar to the International Diploma of the University of Cambridge. The course will also include being able to draw up a business plan for a new venture, being able to market and sell a new product or idea, financial skills such as bookkeeping and calculating tax, awareness of intellectual property, and possibly patent law. Each subject can be taught in over a period of 40 hours and should include an accredited diploma. Strategy for SME development. I propose 2 approaches for SME and entrepreneurial development in Namibia. The first, a push strategy, requires government and private sector partners to identify existing entrepreneurs and provide targeted assistance. In the second, a pull strategy is suggested, which consists of countrywide one-stop shops for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur Identification Program. The Entrepreneur Identification Program, EIP, is a private-public partnership. In other words, a company that wishes to identify potential clients for its products or services, wishes to target SMEs, for example, the financial advisors of the insurance industry, together with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, or a designated consultant. A roadshow is designed to identified areas within the country. A step-by-step approach is followed in each area. Step 1. Identify all businesses and entrepreneurs in the geographical area census. Step 2. Invite registration by owners, managers in the EIP. Step 3. Provide workshops of 40 hours each, that is 5 days times 8 hours, in each of the following areas: business organization, legal framework plus overview of business, business communication, including business English and IT skills, finance, non-financial managers, that is understanding of financial statements, not preparation such as bookkeeping, marketing, including market research, customer surveys, etc., human resources, managing the workforce. Step 4, entrepreneurial skills testing and certification. Step 5, mentoring program, preparation of business proposal and deliverables. Step 6, financing mechanism put in place, i.e. share participation by pension funds, loans from development bank, preferential shares with specified dividends for a set period, etc. Step 7. Constant monitoring every 3 months. As the business grows, it will require more and more services, such as short-term insurance, bookkeeping, etc. The business advisor from the private partner company now has a group of clients that can be serviced. The relationship between the advisor and the entrepreneurs becomes a network of services in the geographical area. One-stop shops, small business assistance centers, SBAC, can be packaged together with the envisaged local community center in each constituency. A national training program needs to be developed and continuously revised to ensure the local SBAC is aware of all business legislation, both local and national. The SBAC will assist the SME to organize funding for infrastructure, capital goods such as machinery and equipment, land working capital, etc. They assist in the preparation of business plans, applications, and any other documentation the SME might need to start or expand its operations. Each of us goes through various phases during our lives. In the same way, a person who has the desire to start a business will go through phases in the business cycle. It is the responsibility of these SBSE advisors to identify the stage the business is in and provide the appropriate assistance. Super's theory. Donald Super, 1957, recognized the changes that people go through as they mature. Career patterns are determined by socioeconomic factors, mental and physical abilities, personal characteristics, and the opportunities to which persons are exposed. People seek career satisfaction through work roles in which they can express themselves and implement and develop their self-concepts. Career maturity, a main concept in Super's theory, is manifested in the successful accomplishment of age and stage developmental tasks across the lifespan. Self-concept is an underlying factor in Super's model. Vocational self-concept develops through physical and mental growth, observations of work, identification with working adults, general environment, and general experiences. As experiences become broader in relation to awareness of world of work, the more sophisticated vocational self-concept is formed. Zanker, 1994, p. 30. Super's contribution was the formalization of stages and developmental tasks over the lifespan: growth, birth to 15, form self-concept, develop capacity, attitudes, interests and needs, and form a general understanding of the world of work. Exploratory, 15 to 24, try out through classes, work experience, hobbies, collect relevant information, tentative choice and related skill development. Establishment, 25-44, entry skill building and stabilization through work experience. Maintenance, 45 to 64, continual adjustment process to improve position. Decline, 65 plus, reduced output, prepare for retirement. In our behavioral approach to entrepreneurship, we can see a similar development, such as Super's theory, in the life cycle of the entrepreneur. The Small Business Assistance Center, SBAC, must be able to assist in each of these phases through specific assistance packages. Growth. The entrepreneur or group of entrepreneurs have formed an idea of the business they wish to start. At this stage, they need to have a library of ideas at their disposal. For example, 101 business ideas, list of small-scale factories in India, etc. Exploratory. The entrepreneur needs expertise. The small business advisor is able to direct them to identified experts in marketing, finance, and legal matters. This can possibly be done with a coupon system, and it can be incorporated in the training of lawyers and accountants to provide a certain number of free consultation hours during their apprenticeship. Establishment. The business is legally registered with all the relevant authorities: national, local, chamber of commerce, social security, taxes, etc. At this point, a reputable accounting firm is also appointed. At this point, the entrepreneur also needs to formalize their business skills. They can participate in the EIP or get credits from local colleges for the coursework basics of business administration, finance, human resources, marketing, and communication. Maintenance. The company expands and creates more job opportunities. The business now has direct contacts with the Ministry of Trade and Industry and is actively looking for export opportunities. Decline, the entrepreneur, now owner, is assisted with transition planning within the business. Most owners wish to have family members continue the tradition, but this is not always feasible today. Government, for the sake of employees and export earnings, provide some assistance in this regard. Industrial development. The Directorate of Industrial Development spearheads the promotion and development of industrialization, SMEs, and entrepreneurship with the aim of promoting growth and diversity of the economy, reducing poverty and income disparities, and unemployment. Its functions include, amongst others, industrial planning and appraisal, policy and strategy formulation, and monitoring the implementation of such plans and programs. In almost all investment material about Namibia, the following quote will be found. Namibia's manufacturing sector is relatively small and contributes approximately 13% to GDP. Recent progress made in manufacturing has been due to the expansion of fish processing and the constant output of the meat processing industry. Considering the open nature of the Namibian economy, with almost all consumer goods being imported and most primary resources being exported largely unprocessed, there is clearly tremendous scope for import substitution manufacturing as well as value addition to Namibia's rich natural resources. To stimulate the expansion and diversification of the manufacturing sector for economic growth, the government has put attractive packages of incentives for manufacturers and exporters of manufactured goods in place. Then the list of potential manufacturing projects will be listed, and you will find the following listed there too: cement plant, tomato paste, and cotton ginnery. I first came across this list when I started working for the NCCI in 1991. It was a list of projects developed by the First National Development Corporation in circa 1986. The Namibian Industrial Development Plan is stagnant and needs a drastic rethink. It is time to take another look at our industrial development policy and recognize the world. And Namibia has changed drastically. Build, Operate, Transfer. The Namibian government has been responsible for finding, financing, and operating infrastructure and development projects. Some of these projects can be wholly or partially implemented by the private sector. They can include airports, canals, dams, drainage, education and health facilities, government buildings, highways, housing, hydropower projects, industrial estates or townships, information technology networks and database infrastructure, irrigation, land reclamation projects, markets, ports, power plants, railroads and railways, sewerage, slaughterhouses, solid waste management, telecommunications, tourism projects, transport systems, warehouses, water supply. These projects can be undertaken under a legal framework that can include provision for the following: Build, Operate, Transfer, Build, Transfer, BT, Build, Own, Operate, and Build, Transfer, Operate, BTO. The law can also provide for projects that rehabilitate infrastructure under one of the above. For each project, the private sector project promoter must obtain the financing, whether foreign or local, themselves. Examples can be A. Broadband, high-speed internet cables throughout the country. B. A water canal system around a housing development at the coast near Mo Bay or any other coastal town. C. Central Register for Government. And D. International Standard Hotel Training School. Manufacturing incentives. The present manufacturing capacity should not be neglected through any difference in strategy. In fact, we need to make the present tax regime for manufacturing companies straightforward. The definition for manufacturers should be a business that includes all steps necessary to convert raw materials or parts into finished goods for the consumer market. If a business in Namibia meets these criteria, they should have a uniform tax rate of 10% on net profit. Additional growth incentives in the form of refunds can be granted for activities undertaken to expand to external markets. New strategy for industrial development. During the last century, it was an accepted fact that economic evolution was linear and went from agricultural to industrial to the service economy. We need a new way of thinking in Namibia. We can move from an agricultural economy to the information and knowledge industry. During the past decade, several countries have implemented such a policy of leaping forward and skipping the industrial stage. Hong Kong, India, Israel, Switzerland, and Singapore are some examples of countries that got involved in this revolution. Some of these countries are overpopulated or a desert, so we have no excuse for this not being able to work in our country. Best of all, Namibia can accommodate this type of industry as they are affordable, accessible, easy to understand and to implement, and highly profitable.